Hey YouTube, it's Krista and Noak, and we are going to be doing our birth story video. So he is 2 weeks and 1 day old today. I'm just getting around to doing this, so I've kind of had to think a little bit about how I wanted to make this video and what information to share and what's relevant to you guys. So this is just going to be like a little summary of what happened. It'll be like way too long of a video to go into every detail, and you probably don't care about every detail and, like, times and all that kind of stuff. So this is just kind of gonna be my recollection of what happened during our labor and delivery, and just kind of like my overall like thoughts and my feelings about our experience. So my water broke at my due date was July 2nd, and my water broke on July 3rd at 7:25 in the morning. I had just woken up. I heard Ori, my sister had gotten her out of her crib, and I heard her in the living room, so I got up. I invited her to come snuggle in bed with me. We had just laid down, and I was about to nurse her. I laid back, and then I just felt kind of like a pop, and it was a gush of water. With Ori, I heard and felt the pop, but it was just a little trickle. This time it was like a gush, like legit gush. So we got all excited, but my contractions didn't pick up right away, so I remembered the lesson I had learned from last time, and I just took it easy all that morning, and the early afternoon I just kind of laid in bed. And my contractions were like they started out maybe 15 minutes to 10 minutes to 7 minutes, and then they were just kind of like sporadic for a little bit. So that was at 7:25 that my water broke, and things didn't really progress until around noon. So we ate lunch, we packed up. I contacted my midwife when my water broke, but then I contacted her again and said, my contractions aren't very regular, but we'd like to come to the birth center, preferably before rush hour traffic. So, if it's okay with you, we'll just come and we'll hang out there. So she said, come on. And by the time we got loaded up in the car and started to drive that way, they were pretty regular, like every maybe 7 to 6 minutes apart, and pretty intense. So that was around 3:30 that we got to the birth center. She checked me, and I was 5 centimeters. I think she said I was fully effaced, and she could feel his hair, because he's got a lot of it, huh? Say hi, Noah. Hi, Noah. So I was all excited because I was like, yay, halfway there. So we just kind of hung out. They had me doing some different positions to, number one, speed up my contractions and make them more regular, and to get him in the ideal position. So we did that for a couple of hours, and they called it the pancake. It was laying with my hips stacked on one side for 3 contractions, and then staying on that side and lifting my leg up into like a high runner's position with pillows underneath for 3 contractions, hands and knees for 3 contractions, and then repeat like on the other side. And you do that whole cycle. We did that 3 times. So it was a couple of hours that I was doing that. I labored on the birth ball. I labored on the bed a lot this time, which I didn't last time. I labored on the toilet for a little bit towards like the end of stage 2 of labor. It was amazing. I love the birth center that I've used for my 2 birth experiences. I don't know, I can't describe how thankful I am that both of my births have taken place in such a calm and warm and welcoming environment. I think it makes a world of difference. my mom was there, my husband was there, and my younger sister was there this time. I had my midwife, Jamie, and then fortunately for me, my midwife, Trish, who I told you guys about, was able to attend for the majority of the birth, or the labor. You okay? Goodness. My goodness. So I had a great support team. My mom, she's so nurturing. I keep telling her she needs to go into business, that she would make a great doula or labor assistant. She just read my scripture cards over me. She prayed over me. I had my praise and worship playlist going in the background, which helped tremendously. My sister was giving me a foot rub with essential oils, had the diffuser going. We had candles going. My sister took pictures for us, and once they're edited and I pick out which ones I want to share with you guys, I'll definitely put together a little collage or slideshow. The birth center itself is just a house that's been converted into the birth center, so it's basically like a home birth at somebody else's house, and it's just so neat, and I just felt at peace there. With this birth experience, I felt like I was much more in control mentally, working through the contractions, and I was much more present. I think I was so scared and unsure of myself and of what to expect with my first pregnancy or my first labor and delivery, that I don't remember a lot of it because I was just kind of in labor land, and I depended a lot more on my midwife to tell me what to do because I didn't know what to do. And this time I felt like I did a good job of taking charge with vocalizing how I was feeling, and with changing positions and just kind of trusting my instincts. And when it came to pushing, this time I just kind of pushed when my body told me to, and when I felt the urge, instead of last time I was so scared to push. I was just kind of holding it in until she told me, okay, you really need to push. So I was really proud of myself, and I had a great experience. The times kind of all run together to me. I don't know by what time I was, so many centimeters and when I started to push. I've got all that written down somewhere, but the contractions were really intense and really long. They were, for the longest time, my contractions were a minute and a half long, and it was really rough. I got sick plenty of times, and I wasn't aware of this, but my mom told me after the fact that the midwives kind of convened out in the hall and kind of talking about what was going on, and based off, I guess, the sounds that I was making and how long everything was taking to progress, they felt like I was going to have a big baby. They didn't know it was going to be a 10-pound baby almost. But once I felt like contractions were really doing what they needed to do and I was ready to get into the water, I let them know. One thing that I did feel was different this time with the contractions, what I remember distinctly with Ori was that contractions hurt all over my stomach, top and bottom. This time I was afraid that my contractions weren't strong enough, or they weren't hurting enough, or weren't doing enough, because I only felt pain kind of in the lower, low menstrual cramps or period cramps. I didn't feel any contractions on the upper part of my uterus. And she said that that's pretty common, apparently, for subsequent births or pregnancies. So I just remember that being different this time. But I felt like I needed to go ahead and get in the water, and I kind of saved that this time around for kind of my reward. And instantly when I got into the birth pool, it was amazing relief. So totally recommend water births if you're considering one. It was great. It's just so soothing and calming, and I definitely contribute not tearing with both of my pregnancies with a 7-pound and an almost 10-pound baby to laboring so long in water, because I definitely feel like it softens your skin up and allows things to stretch a little easier. So, and it takes some of that pressure and resistance off. Well, I don't know why this keeps popping up so fast. So, I labored on the bed for a long time, labored on the toilet for a little bit, and on the toilet, I was like, I think I really need to get into the pool now. So I got into the pool and labored, and I don't know how many hours. I mean, it was a long time. And then they were like, you know what, I think we should get you out and let's do some more on the bed. And I really did not want to. I was like, what's the point? I was crying. I did not want to get out. But they're like, we're going to try and help you get this baby out faster. So by this time, I'm sure it was probably like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock, or later, I don't know. So they had me do some more kind of like positioning techniques to help. They weren't sure if it was like he wasn't in the best position or it was his size. So did that, and then I just remember distinctly saying, I need to get in the pool. I need to get in the pool now, because I started to feel really pushy. And I told them if I don't get in there now, I might not be able to get there, and I want to have him born in the water. So they got me back in the water, and I started just to push with contractions as I felt the urge. And I was very vocal. I don't know how many hours or how long I pushed. They said 30 minutes, but I think it was 30 minutes after they called me complete. But I wasn't complete. There was a little lip of cervix that was like holding his head back and kept getting stuck and was getting swollen. So I think I pushed for like 2 hours, but it was only 30 minutes after I was like fully dilated and that cervix moved out of the way. There was a lot of pushing. So my whole idea of the second birth being easier just kind of like got blown out of the window with this experience, but it was totally worth it. So I pushed and pushed and pushed, and at like midnight or maybe closer to 1, Trish, my midwife, had to leave. She was sick and she was going out of town for 4th of July, and her family needed her back home. So as I'm like pushing, I'm saying goodbye to my midwife, and the one who was really kind of like the main person. She kind of took over because I was closer to her than I was with Jamie. And so that was, timing was really hard. I cried a little bit, but I knew, I'm like, okay, I have to do this with or without Trish, so I just got to focus on being here and getting it done. So I pushed and pushed and pushed, and finally they were like, your baby's head is here, it's so close. And I got to feel his head, and of course it feels like jelly. It feels so weird. And the pressure was intense. I think that's the scariest part for me, is just like the pressure that you feel when they're about to crown. It's not the most pleasant thing, but it's totally doable. Yeah, I remember with Ori, I felt scared to rip like to the back, and this time I felt like I totally felt the ring of fire this time. I don't remember that so bad with Ori, but she was also 3 pounds smaller. I felt the ring of fire, and I thought I was gonna rip like up, and so that was scary. Finally, his head was like there, like forever, it felt like, and they kept instructing me to to push. I would push. He'd kind of go back in a little bit. It was a long process to get his head out, and then his head was finally born, and I was in the birth pool, and I was like kind of leaning back with my back against the side of the pool, and so his head was born, and with the next contraction, like nothing happened. I was pushing and nothing happened, and so the midwife's like, okay, I need you to pull your legs back to you and push, and give me a big push. Push hard, push now. So I did that. Nothing. So she's like, okay, I need you on hands and knees now. So I hear in her voice kind of like escalating concern. So here I am with a head born, and I'm turning over on hands and knees, and I'm pushing, and nothing's happening. I don't really remember pain as much as I was concerned. I'm like I didn't know what was happening and why it was happening. Oh, sorry guys. So nothing happened, and then I hear, even with more intensity in her voice, stand up, put your leg up. So they help me stand up. My midwife's holding my leg up onto the side of the tub, and I'm kind of like squatting and standing at the same time, and I'm leaning over my husband. And this, I do remember pain, and she's telling me to push, and I just felt like I'm pushing with all my might, and nothing's happening. What's wrong? I was crying at that point. I was screaming, like, what's happening? What's wrong with my baby? Is he okay? Why is this happening? And I just remember just being scared and in pain, leaning and holding on to my husband. Nothing was happening. She got me, she was trying to help the baby shoulder out. It didn't work. So here I am. Now the head's been born, I don't know how long, maybe a minute or more. And they're asking me to climb out of the tub and get on hands and knees. So I didn't make it to the bed. It just got out of the tub and dropped to the floor and started pushing, and nothing was happening. I screamed when she put her hand in to help adjust his shoulder. She couldn't get him out. And then they had me lay on my back, and she had her hand in, I think, to help adjust his shoulder. Nothing happened. So she looks at my mom, who's by my side, and the labor assistant, and tells them in a very firm voice, I need pressure right here, and I need it now. And I kind of like zoned out. I don't remember. I mean, I remember, but I think at the moment I wasn't aware that it was my mom who was doing this, but my mom and the labor assistant put pressure on my stomach, and with the midwife's help, he like shot out. I just remember, I'm laying on my back. I can't see what's going on. I just feel a baby head dangling out of me, and a ton of pressure. I'm pushing, nothing's happening. I can't see what's going on because I'm laying on my back and my stomach's like ginormous. And then all of a sudden they push, and I can see everything. I can see him. It was intense. It was insane. It was not what I had planned for, but it was amazing. And they had to give him a little bit of help breathing. He was really blue and purpley, and they gave him some air with like a little pump thing. I just kept asking, is he okay? Is he okay? And then I heard him cry, and then I started crying, and I was fine. It's just, I don't want to cry. It just amazes me, and just reaffirms everything that I believe about natural birth and the awesomeness of God, that He has created our bodies to do that. I didn't know that I was capable of that. I would have probably been really afraid if you told me that that's how my birth was going to be. But I did it, and I have a beautiful 10-pound baby. He's fine. I'm fine. I didn't tear. I didn't have any traumatic injuries from the birth. I feel so thankful that experience, which, is not very common. The birth center, I asked the midwives, and they told me that, they get sticky shoulders, is what they call them, a couple times a month there. A full-blown case of shoulder dystocia, which I experienced maybe once or twice a year out of all the babies they deliver over the entire year at the birth center. And when the midwives were talking amongst themselves, they told me after the fact that my birth was the worst case of shoulder dystocia. It took the longest to get the baby out after the head was born. That either of them remember, and they've been the head midwife has been a midwife. The owner of the birth center has been a midwife and delivered thousands of babies over the last 20 years. So that says a lot. It was intense. It was rough. But my my recovery was easy. I was fine. You know, it just amazes me. And I'm just so thankful that I had that experience there, because had I been in a hospital, it would have been a totally different case. Typically, you know, I looked it up after we got home, and I found kind of like the procedures of what they typically do. My midwife went through all of them, and the last resort that she did was, having someone apply pressure on the outside of my stomach to help get him out. That's like the last resort, because that can harm the baby, but it's better than the alternative of, the baby being stuck forever, or, being transferred with a head born. It's just, at that point you just have to get the baby out, and that's what's important. In a hospital setting, if I had had an epidural, if I had not been able to move, what do you do? I had to change positions 4 times after the head was born, and not just like roll to your side, like get up, get out, walk with a head between your legs. If I had an epidural, if I had been stuck on my back in a hospital, what they have to do, because the mom can't do anything, is push the head back in and cut you open, and you have a C-section. And the risks associated with that are so much higher than what I experienced at the birth center. And I'm just so thankful that I didn't have that experience, and that I can still say, well, my second birth was harder than my first, and I wasn't expecting that. It was a beautiful experience, and I'm so thankful that I had that experience, and that it just reaffirmed everything that I felt and believe about natural birth and the environment that you choose to be in, about the capability of midwives. When you have a good midwife, they know what to do in those situations, and at no point did I feel unsafe. I was just, scared of the unknown, of what was happening. I didn't, of course, you can't plan for these things. It also reaffirmed my my belief that you shouldn't have an unassisted birth, because things like that happen. My first birth was a piece of cake, smooth, didn't tear. It's your typical birth, and this time, it was not so typical. So it just made me feel really good. I felt more sorry, I guess, for my husband and my mom and my sister, who were watching the whole thing play out. Especially for my sister, 16, first birth experience to see and observe. Thankfully, she's not too freaked out. But, God is just a genius. When you have a baby, as soon as they hand you your baby, the endorphins and hormones are already pumping and flowing. I'm laying on the ground, bleeding out. They had to give me Pitocin, and I'm crying, not because I'm hurting or because I'm scared. I'm crying because I'm happy, and I'm holding my precious baby, and I was fine. And everyone kept, like, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Are you okay with how things happened? Like, I have a baby, and I'm healthy, and he's healthy, of course. I'm just so thankful. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I want to say in this video. I think I'll probably do a separate video just talking about things that were reaffirmed for me, or kind of revisiting what I believe about natural birth, and maybe comparing and contrasting my experience with being in the hospital the first few days with him, and how that was different. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what I want to say to sum up our birth experience. It was amazing. It was intense towards the end, but I am so proud of myself, and I'm so thankful I was where I was, and I had the people around me that I did have. Thankful that I wasn't in a hospital setting. I'm thankful that hard work resulted in this little guy. here he is. Here's Noah. So, anyways, I hope if you find yourself watching this and you are considering an all-natural birth or a water birth or birth center or going the route of a midwife over an OB, I hope that this doesn't scare you but encourages you. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them below and I'll get back with you guys. And we will talk to you later. We'll see you later. Bye.